Hi, I'm Tanya Wright. I am teaching science 6th through 8th grade today. We are going to be looking at citing textual evidence and analyzing scientific papers. So we're going to get into a PowerPoint and the lesson. Okay, you might want a piece of paper on hand and something to write with during the presentation. We are going to first look at citing textual evidence, and the standard is I can cite several pieces of text evidence to support analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text. Explicit textual evidence. When we have ideas about what we read, we need to cite explicit textual evidence to support our ideas. When we read, we often are asked to answer questions or express our ideas about the text. In order to let people know we aren't making stuff up, we should use explicit textual evidence to support our opinions or answers. In real life, people who can back up an opinion about a text with explicit textual evidence are often taken more seriously than people can only give a reason of just because, or I saw it on the internet. What does explicit textual evidence mean? The name really says it all. Explicit is direct. Textual is from the text. Evidence supports your answer, opinion, or idea. Giving explicit textual evidence about your answers or opinions regarding a text is pretty simple. You just have to do three things. First, state your idea. State the idea you had about the text if you're responding to a specific question. Be sure your idea restates the question. 2. Cite what in the text led you to that idea. Give supporting evidence from the text by paraphrasing or directly quoting from the text. If you are directly quoting from the text, you must use the quotation marks. Sentence starters in the first paragraph, for example, or the author says. The text states. The text describes, for example, the author explains. Early in the text, the author, or for instance, are all great examples of how to start your sentence. Explaining your evidence is the third. Explain how the quote or quotes or paraphrases you pointed out to support your idea. Again, with sentence starters, this shows, this is because, this means, this reveals, this illustrates, this highlights the difference between. An example, please take a moment and read through this. So in the model answer, the question, what was the author's purpose in writing this text? The author's purpose was to make people aware that cats killing birds has become a problem and that any solution to the problem will be controversial. In the first paragraph, the author points out cats kill between 1.4 billion and 3.7 billion every year. As you can see, here the writer answers the question with the idea about the text. The second part, here the writer includes a direct quote from the text as evidence. In the green, the author's use of what statistic really catches the reader's eye because they are such a big number. This shows just how big the problem is. So in the green, here the writer comments on how the quoted text was cited as evidence, helped to form the idea that was stated to answer the question. In red, then in the second paragraph, the author says that there are two controversial ways to solve the problem, either by catching wild cats and performing surgery on them so they can't reproduce, or catching and killing them. Here the writer paraphrases from the text to give a second piece of evidence. In the last green section, the author was demonstrating that the possible solutions are controversial because most people probably would not like the idea of cats being caught in order to either operate on them or kill them. Here the writer comments on how the paraphrased text helped form the idea that was stated to answer the question. So here's your turn. The question, how does the author try to help readers understand the term tensile strength? Answer the question using the steps of citing textual evidence. State your idea, cite what in the text led you to that idea, and explain your evidence. So here you can take a pause and try this out, and then we'll keep going with the next part of analyzing text in scientific papers. All right, we're going to continue analyzing text in a scientific paper. So why bother reading scientific papers? Scientific papers are the heart of the science community. They're one of the major ways scientists communicate their results and ideas to one another. If you're considering doing original scientific research, reading the scientific literature is a must. Continued, scientific papers contain the most up-to-date information about a field. So if you have a topic you're interested in studying, reading scientific literature in that field will help you understand what has already been discovered and what questions remain unanswered. The great thing about science is that every time one question is answered, the answer unlocks twice as many new questions. This means that once you've read the literature and know what people have already discovered, you'll probably be able to see what still needs to be done in the field and use that to design your own relevant research project. Whether you're reading a review article or a primary research paper, you're likely to come across vocabulary and concepts with which you're unfamiliar. It's a good idea to have other resources on hand to look up those words and ideas. Dictionary, internet, teachers, dictionary.com, whatever you choose. How to proceed when reading a scientific paper. Highlighting important data and making notes directly on a photocopy or printout of the paper can be a good way to keep track of the information as you move through the paper. Taking notes will help you encapsulate what is important about the paper and keep you focused on the task. This process is also known as annotation. In this slide, there is a link to Annotation Strategies. It's approximately 8 minutes long. Please take the time to find this link and watch that. Annotation strategies for scientific text. Circle unknown words and phrases. Use question marks to indicate areas of confusion or uncertainty. Use stars, underline, or highlight things that you think are important. Write notes on the margins or on sticky notes. Explain figures and graphs in your own words. Draw experimental designs to create a visual aspect of your notes. You will be using this slide with the assignment that is attached on the 2 news articles that you will be reading. And this is the source of where the information for this PowerPoint came from. It's always important to include your resources.